Hi Year 8, welcome back to your lessons on the poem Nothing Changes. This lesson today is quite a chunky one, so I'm going to give you 2 lessons to complete it. I'll record the video all in one go and there'll be one quiz attached to this, but it will take you 2 lessons to do it. Okay, so your do now task is on the board, what happens in the poem. So you can read that again. I've put a link to it and show my homework so you can see it. And then you need to pick 3 things that happen in the poem or are described in the poem. So pause the video and please do that now. Amazing. So what we're going to look at today is why the writer uses particular techniques in their writing so that you can write solid, decent, well-explained P paragraphs. So to do that then, so how do you think the overall poem should be read? Is it angry to reflect the attitude that nothing's changed? Or have they kind of given up, which is what resigned means? They know nothing's going to change, it's too much to hope that. You choose. So thinking back to the work you've done before, give me a short quotation that justifies your opinion. What tone do you think the poem should have? So pause now and do that. Okay, I think I would do a combination of angry and resigned, but over the balance for the both of them I'd go for angry. So there's a video link here we're going to watch. Bear with. Always takes a few minutes to find the right bit for you. It will be loading, I promise. Just takes some time. So it's going to play this. I think you'll be able to hear it based on the audio on my computer.
My full names are Tatumkula Ismail.
Just in case you can't, I'll put the link on show my homework.
Pronounced in the Afrikaans way. And it was my Mkhonto Sizwe code name. And then when the struggle was over and Nelson Mandela was released from prison, I wanted it to become my official name. When I first came to stay in District 6 in the early 60s, there were many faiths, there were Hindus as well. It was a polyglot society. And so the only element that was missing was the white element, which kept to itself. And then it was eventually declared by the apartheid government to be for whites only. And they began to break it down, and I had to watch this happening, house after house, cinema after cinema, shop after shop being crushed by the bulldozers. Until eventually there was no place left to stay except in Walmer Estate, which is not far from here where I am at the moment. And I was extremely bitter about that, and I still am. I've always been on the side of the underdog. To this day I champion the cause of the blacks, who after all are the majority race in the new South Africa. I had a squad of my own, there were 5 of us, and we were operating as a hit squad attached to Mkhonto Sizwe. In the long run, they caught us. We were, of course, reported on in the papers as being terrorists, and I was charged with terrorism, and I was banned from writing. That's when I started to write under the name of Mkhonto Sizwe. That's when I published my first book, when I was not banned from doing so. Nothing's Changed was written sometime in 1991. Well, it's autobiographical insofar that it did concern my own personal life. Naturally, it was an event that I lived through, that I experienced. And it refers to real places. There was that new building, that new structure, and there was the old cafe, and there was the guard, and there were the Port Jackson trees, and all these other things the poem mentions. I was no longer living in the old District 6 at the time because it was already completely trashed. I was living in Walmer State, which adjoins it, and I used to go to work in a roundabout way through the city, because passing through District 6 used to intensely sadden me, and still does intensely sadden me when I pass through today. But then one morning I decided, well, I would walk through the Oldley district again, and the poem tells you what I saw. Nothing's changed. It's actually almost wholly referring through the seen to the unseen, and to the unseen in my life, in other words, the intense inward anger. If you refer to the first stanza of that poem, you'll find that it catalogues a whole series of small objects, but all of them are resisting my passing over them, the way the District 6 is resisting the incursion of the alien. The fourth stanza, the last line, I speak of a single rose. Now that is very definitely the seen and the unseen, because behind the single rose lies much more. There lies that sense of rage at cruel, conscienceless affluence being practiced in the midst of desperate poverty.
Okay, so you've got some words there from the poet himself to talk about how he feels, which is great. Excuse my noisy granddaughter again. Okay, so we've got a summary of some of those things here. So Nothing's Changed is entirely autobiographical. So auto written by himself, biographical about his own life. He says, I can't quite remember when I wrote this, but I think it must have been about 1990. District 6 was a complete waste by then, and I hadn't been passing through it for a long time. But nothing has changed. Not only District 6, I mean, we may have a new constitution, so that means they had new rules that they were supposed to stick to in society. We may have, on the face of it, a beautiful democracy, which means every person gets a vote, everyone gets an opinion. But racism in this country is absolutely redolent. So they've got rid of the rules of racism. They've stopped putting people in District 6. They've claimed to be more equal, but actually nothing's really changed. Actually, the way that people are treated is still the same. So we try to pretend to the world that it does not exist, racism that is, but it most certainly does, all day long, every day, shocking and saddening and terrible. Look, I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom, because I don't feel like that at all. I am full of hope, but I won't see it in my lifetime. It's going to take a long time. I mean, in America it's taken all this time and it's still not gone. So it will change, but not quickly at all. Okay, so, and he's absolutely right, of course. We've had all the Black Lives Matter stuff going on in America this year even, that shows you that things are still not equal there. We are further advanced in Britain compared to these countries, but we're still not completely there ourselves. We still have racism take place. Okay, so we're going to move towards you doing your peak paragraphs then on the poem, Multicultural Africa's poem. So to do that, what I want you to do first of all is to create a table looking at the different techniques in the poem with an example, and then thinking about the tone of what's written. How does that intend to come across? So you can see the first row there has been filled in for you, looking at repetition. You need to go back then to the annotation we did yesterday, or talked about yesterday, to identify adjectives, strong verbs, onomatopoeias and personification, but then also tell me why those are there. Why has the writer included them? Is he showing his sadness or his anger? Okay, so you're then going to use that to write me some P or peak paragraphs about this poem. So if you are in 8QE2, I would like you to write 3 peak paragraphs and send them to me if you can. If you are in 8AC1, then I want you to do 2 P paragraphs and again send those to me if you can. Alright, I am surrounded by my grandchildren, as you probably know. I now need to finish the lesson, and that includes 3 different buttons at once. So bear with if we go a little bit wonky here. I have to move my stuff. I will see you guys next lesson.